Right here from Red Mist TV, here to talk about all things Liverpool following a second Premier League win. This time it came on Monday night away at Crystal Palace to follow up on the 4-0 opening day success. All things going well for Liverpool, 6 points from 6. But after the match against Crystal Palace, Jurgen Klopp came out to add some realism. He laid down the gauntlet, particularly to two of the back four. Those names in question: Andy Robertson at the left back and Trent Alexander-Arnold on the other side of the defence. So what does Klopp mean? Please do give us your thoughts. Tell us whether you think that Klopp is right to highlight both those players. Now, what was he saying exactly? Well, in spite of the 2-0 win, we stuttered over the finishing line. I think we can all agree that was the case for us Liverpool fans watching on. But what Klopp wants more from us is a lot more in offence. He wants Robertson on the left-hand side, and he wants Trent Alexander-Arnold on the right to offer much more going forward, so that we bank 5 players in midfield when attacking to join Keita, to join Milner and Wijnaldum, should those be the 3 chosen players who feature in our future games, starting with the next match against Brighton. So even though the defence was resolute, and we'll go on to talk about how good our defence was, again, we are the only Premier League side, I think, not to have conceded a goal, having played 2 games. That is absolutely fantastic. What he's saying is he does want much more attacking-wise, and alongside that, he also remarked on Mo Salah's contribution as well. I think Klopp knows that Mo Salah is going to have one hell of a task to replicate the form of last season when he got 44 goals for us. Picked up that injury, of course, in the quite infamous moment with Sergio Ramos in the UEFA Champions League final. Then didn't look himself when he did play in the latter games of Egypt's failed World Cup campaign. And Mo really, for me, hasn't quite looked on the pace like he had done last season. There was one ball he took over the top from Keita, and last season he would have quite simply dinked the ball over Hennessy. What he did this time was he executed the first part of it well, but then when through on goal, he sent the ball over the crossbar. And there were a few moments like that kind of told me that Salah isn't quite where he needs to be. Now, is that a worry? I'm not sure it is with Mo Salah. It's just a matter of getting that match sharpness, the match fitness. But he had a few opportunities in the game as well. Yes, he was the guy who Sacco took down to get us the penalty in the game. But he had a couple of shooting opportunities before that, did Mo Salah, and he was just a bit lethargic looking and failed to hit the target, giving the Crystal Palace defenders time to get back in and to make those blocks in the game. Now, let's concentrate across the back line. Our defence, as we say, has been magnificent, and one guy who stood out for me is Joe Gomez. He has come in and he's surely staked the claim there, insofar as I think Lovren won't come straight back in when he is fit. Joe Gomez performed brilliantly against West Ham. There's just that threat diagonally and over the top that I think is one of his only chinks in his armoury. Arnautovic almost got in when we played the Hammers. Against Crystal Palace, he was pretty much flawless. He had a pass completion rate of over 90%, and he just looked so good on the ball. Joe Gomez is there to be displaced. Again, if you agree with me, make sure you send your comments below. Also, go to our Facebook page, like it, and see also that there's a competition on there. If you want to win a Liverpool shirt, you can do so by liking that particular post and by commenting as to the name and number on the back of the shirt that you would like the most. Important thing is that you click the bell icon and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So if you haven't done already, please do. Well, let's talk about the rest of the back line then. And that colossus is Virgil van Dijk, particularly at the centre of defence. Van Dijk raised eyebrows when he came to Liverpool. It was a huge fee, £75 million. Manchester United skipper Gary Neville chuckled when he came to Anfield at that cost, and only this week has been quoted as saying it now looks like a bargain. And he reminds Gary Neville, the former Manchester United skipper, of arguably Manchester United's best ever centre half in Jaap Stam. Now, those are quite big words, so fair play to Neville. He's held his hands up there and he's admitted that he wasn't quite right. And, you know, Virgil van Dijk, who's absolutely amazing yet again. He doesn't wear the captain's armband, but he may as well on the pitch. The way he leads the guys from the back, he is the perfect foil for Joe Gomez to come in as a young defender and to learn and apply his trade in the Premier League. He's been so good so far. In fact, since he's joined Liverpool, he has got the most clean sheets in the Premier League, and we actually haven't conceded in the league since back in February. So it's all looking good there. Now, completing the back five, of course, was Alisson, and you may, if you've joined in our earlier programmes, know that I wasn't perhaps the biggest exponent of the Brazilian. He's looked a bit shaky in pre-season. That's going to take time, I know it is. He looked very, very good, and again, this is where I have to kind of bow down and say, you know, it may well just take him a couple of games to get into his rhythm. He completed 21 of 23 passes, I think a pass success rate of over 91%. And loads of those passes were long balls as well, so it's not as if he's passing to Trent and Andy Robertson and taking the ball back from his centre halves, which he's doing a blend of that, but he's also acting like a quarterback. He's spraying the ball left and right, so I think the percentage may not be maintained throughout all our games as we go, you know, throughout this Premier League campaign. However, what I'm seeing so far is really, really, it's just making me feel so happy as a Liverpool fan, given what's happened to Loris Karius. We've needed that stature of a goalkeeper. We've needed somebody who can read the game, and we saw against Crystal Palace he produced one outstanding save when he pushed the ball round the post, and it showed me that I think Klopp has got this right. So again, let's watch this space as Liverpool fans. If you think that Alisson is the guy who's going to, you know, lay the foundation for us for a real go at the Premier League this season. Now, of course, we've watched Manchester City and we've got to see how the reigning champions perform. We did well against them last year, but it's that consistency. It's the fact they had 13 wins on the spin at one stage last season that propelled them to take the championship title so early. Liverpool need to retain that consistency, and so far with 2 wins from 2, so we cannot say that that is going too badly at all. Now, what else do we need to talk about? Well, the other thing that we need to talk about is Liverpool insofar as Sadio Mane. Mane has scored 3 goals in 2 games. Another guy who, I suppose, the spotlight wasn't necessarily on last year, went under the radar and, you know, set up a lot of goals, particularly for Salah and for Firmino. Those 3 producing, over 90 odd goals last season. But it's Mane who's actually been the most impressive going forward in the early stages of this campaign. 2 goals against West Ham, and the goal that put the nail in the coffin for Crystal Palace on Monday night when we were a bit jittery coming towards the end. We had taken the lead, of course, through that James Milner penalty. Some said it wasn't a penalty, some say it was when you slowed it down. Former Liverpool player Sakho got his right foot, which is not his dominant side, caught with Salah. So I think if you go by the letter of the law, it is actually a penalty. So we took that. Was a bit surprised to see James Milner step up to take the penalty as well. Would he be your penalty taker? You know, if I'm looking at that from the outside, I'm saying, well, if I'm centre forward, I want to take that penalty. And when you looked at Milner's recent conversion rate in penalties, he'd missed a couple as well, but fair play to him. Stood up, sent Hennessy the wrong way. So that potentially will continue given that Milner was successful. That gives a 1-0 lead, and for a time against Crystal Palace, I'm not sure what you think. Again, send us your comments. We looked as if we couldn't quite break down Crystal Palace in that final third, and I think that's what Klopp is talking about. That's what he wants to see. Whenever we're 1-0 up, we need that second goal. We need more banks of attack coming forward, and that's why he wants to see Andy Robertson coming forward from left back and Trent from right back, you know, in games as we progress. So all in all, it's all going well at Anfield. 6 points from 6, and our noisy neighbours down the road, of course, lost all 3 points against Brighton in a 3-2 defeat. So Manchester United and Jose still seems to be unrest behind the scenes there, and it could be that United don't go throughout the whole campaign with the same manager. And lots of talk as well about Paul Pogba, particularly his agent, who had some scathing thoughts to say about Paul Scholes, and Paul Scholes responding, "But I love the fact that this is all going on in the background while we're just ambling along nicely. Let's hope it continues. Our next game is at home to Brighton on Saturday. It's a 5:30 kickoff. Please do join us for that. And following that, we've one game before the international break, and that is away at Leicester City. So 2 challenging games coming up, but 2 very winnable ones. Let's hope that we continue the winning run.